my fellow comic book collectors. Today is Saturday and my very final top 100 comics in my collection video. So this is the top 10. These are the big books. They range in value from $11,000 all the way up to over $30,000. So it's a pretty big range. And there's some really great comics in here. These are all the big grails in my collection. And I hope you enjoyed this video. So I'm going to do a little bit more in depth with each book. And we're going to start out with the number 10 in my collection. And it is this one. I'm going to take it out of the plastic. It's Sensation number 1. This is the first cover appearance of Wonder Woman. It's also the first appearance of a bunch of characters that are kind of key. You've got Mr. Terrific, or Mr. Fantastic, I believe. And the first appearance of Wildcat. So just a bunch of cool characters also made their first appearance in this book. And it's a classic cover for Wonder Woman. We've got her like doing the whole blocking the bullets with bracelets. And also it is a low grade. That's why it's not higher on the list. It's a 0.5, and even in a 0.5, this sells for $11,500. They put the fair market value at $12,000, but I'm saying $11,500. On the census, there are 106 total graded copies of this book, and there's only 68 that are universal grades. So it's a fairly rare book, considering it's actually the rarest on this list for all the books that made my top 10. This book, actually it's really interesting because there is no 9.8 for it. None of the books that are on this list have a 9.8. They all are 9.6 or lower. But the interesting thing about this one is that actually, there is one that has a 9.8. I shouldn't say that they all don't, but this one, the highest grade is a 9.6, and it's never come to market. So it could be like $1 million book if it comes to market. The next best thing was I think a 9.4, and it sold for $400K in 2017. So. Or I might be mistaken about that, but I think that's right. That it is a rare book, and it just doesn't come up for sale very often. So it's probably one of those books that if it comes up again, so the 9.6 did come up once, I should say, and it sold for $400,000. And if it comes up again, probably would break that $1 million mark. I would expect, even with the market kind of going down a little bit. I think it would still be one of those $1 million books. The next book on my list is Amazing Spider-Man number 1. This is kind of a huge book for Spider-Man collectors. This is the first solo series for Spider-Man. It's also the first appearance of John Jonah Jameson. Sorry, John Jonah. Tongue-tied on that one. John Jonah Jameson. So Stan Lee, one of his writing techniques is to have like alliteration as a way of remembering the names. So Jonah Jameson. So this is a Steve Ditko cover, classic cover, and it is a major key for Spider-Man. And this book, if it was not, it's restored, so greatly reduces the value. So it's a 6.0, but it's restored. If it was unrestored, it would be a much higher book. So in this grade, it goes for around between 14 and 16,000. I sort of give it that range. And if it was unrestored, it would sell for about 32,000. And on the census, there are 4,489 of these on the census. So it's a pretty common book if you think about it, compared to the Golden Age ones. And there's 3,134 that are unrestored, the universal grades. So pretty common book if you think about it. But definitely one that there's a lot of collectors for it, and that drives up the price. So I estimated it as, again, that 14 to 16,000 range. It has come down a bit, so that's why I put it in that weird range. Now the next book on my list is actually over here. Is another big grail, and it's a first title. It's the first appearance as well, and it's Hulk #1. So this is a pretty major key for Hulk. You know, it is his first appearance, and he's gray on it. So he didn't become green until Hulk #2. But this is one of those classic covers where you see that transformation between Bruce Banner and the Hulk. It's also the first appearance of Betty Ross and General Ross. So General Ross is kind of a major character, and you'll probably play a bigger role once they get into Armor Wars. So people might be picking this book up for that reason as well. So, but this is a Universal Grade 2.0, and it sells for about 14,500. So just a little bit more than the ASM one. It's actually kind of an interesting book because, again, there's no high grade. So the highest grade for this book is a 9.4, and there's only one at a 9.4, but it has not come up for auction. There's a 9.2 that sold in 2018, and it sold for $330,000. So I'd imagine that the 9.2 would sell for maybe $600,000 now, and that 9.4, if it ever comes up, is probably $1 million book. So it's a very pricey book. There are 2,002 of these on the census, and 1,390 universal grades. So pretty rare book. And, okay, so the next one on my list is Journey into Mystery number 83. This is the first appearance of Thor, another major DC character. And of course mine is restored, but it's a reasonably nice presenting restored book. Show the back as well. So, you know, this is a classic cover with Thor, and it's also, you know, his first appearance. Does it have any other first appearances? Yeah, it's just really the first appearance of Thor. Now, this one is Stan Lee's story and Jack Kirby cover with Steve Ditko art interior. This is one of those ones where this is another book that has really shot up, especially during the 2022 you know, craze for comics, and it sells for around $16,000 in a restored grade. Now, if it was unrestored, if it was just like a universal grade, it would sell for about $32,000. So about half the value is lost just because it's restored. So yeah, so this one is there are 4,489 of them on the census, and 3,134 of them are universal grades. So pretty common book, actually. Like these Silver Age ones compared to the Golden Age are pretty common. Yeah, always surprises me, but definitely a great book still. So the next one, actually, I wanted to say a little bit more about that. There was actually a recent sale on Heritage for 28,800, and there was another recent sale on eBay which was 26,800 for a 6.0. So the price in those were universal grades, so I sort of ballparked it based on those universal grades. When you do restored estimating restored value, it's usually it depends on how much restoration and the grade that it's being restored at. So I was estimating around 40% of the value, 40 to 60%. Actually, I was estimating around 60% of the value. Okay, the next one on my list is another big book. Again, most of my big books are all restored. So sad. But this one is definitely a big book. This is Wonder Woman #1 in a 7.5 restored. And this one has a lot of restoration, actually. It's moderate restoration. But it is one of those classic covers for Wonder Woman. It definitely, this was even used as a movie scene in the Wonder Woman first movie. But it is definitely a great book. It is also her origin story. So Wonder Woman #1, there are 181 of these on the census, and 114 of them are universal grades. So if you look at it, actually very few are compared to the total number are actually not restored. So a lot of them are restored. So yeah, it's kind of interesting that way. If this was a universal grade, it would sell over $100,000. Like probably, I would say around the last sale was like 5 years ago for a 7.5, and it sold for $95,000. So it'd probably be in the 100,000 range for this book if it was not restored. Because it's restored, it really kills the price, extremely kills the price, and it would be worth about $19,000. So yeah. Sadly, it kills the price, how much the restoration hurts the price. Now, the interesting thing about Wonder Woman 1 is there are no books higher grade than 9.4. There's only one that's graded at a 9.4. And the highest graded sale that is recorded is for 9.0, not even a 9.2 or anything, just a 9.0. And it sold for $226,000, and that was a few years back. So this is a book where, in a way, it's hard to do an appraisal of it because there hasn't been any of those big books recently selling. It's just one that doesn't sell very often. And if there ever comes a time when that 9.4 hits the market, and it'd probably sell for over $1 million, then we'll see that the value of these books go dramatically up. But right now, it's one of those books that is definitely lower than you would expect. So, okay. Next one on my list is another big book. This one is Fantastic Four #1. Now, this is a big key because it is the first appearance of the Mole Men, and everybody knows that. So that's the that's the big thing. Eh? No, it's the first appearance of the Fantastic Four. The Human Torch actually is earlier, but this is a new Human Torch. But it's also the first appearance of Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, and the Thing, and Mr. Fantastic. So this book is restored as well, but even in a restored grade, it commands big money. So this one is extensive restoration, actually. And if it was not restored, it would sell for around $52,000 in a 5.0. Because of the restoration, though, I estimate the value at around $21,000. So really, it really dramatically kills the value. And for this one, there are 2,714 total graded comics, and there's 1,839 that are universal graded. So it's a fairly common book, in that 2,000 range for the total graded copies. So, but it is definitely one that is commanding bigger and bigger money. The cool thing about Fantastic Four #1 is it is a book in the $1 Million Club. So recently there was a sale in April for 9.2 Fantastic Four #1, and it sold for $1.5 million. So that's a pretty big sale for 9.2, because that's not the highest graded comic for Fantastic Four #1. The highest graded is actually a 9.6, and there's two of them. So if those come up for market, I imagine they would reach in the $3 million range. So pretty big books. So that's Fantastic Four #1. The next book on my list is another wonderful Silver Age book. It is Showcase #4, the first appearance of the Silver Age Flash. And this book is actually a universal grade for once. And it's just a really great Flash key. Really great cover. Actually, mine presents reasonably well considering it is a 2.0. I forgot why it's considered a 2.0. Yeah, it's just a little, the spine is a little rough. That's probably why. But still really good shape. I'll show you the back as well. So you got Nutty Putty on the back. It's not the first appearance of Nutty Putty, but it is early appearance of Nutty Putty. That's joking. Okay, so this is Showcase #4, and this one goes for, this is one of those weird ones. I estimated it at 26,000, but there was a recent sale for 32,000 for this book in this grade. So I wasn't sure how to evaluate that, but I kept my older estimate of 26,000. It's a fairly rare book for the Silver Age. So Silver Age books, you expect the number of graded copies to be around 1,000 to 2,000. That's kind of normal, even up to 3,000 to 4,000. But this one only has 550 total graded copies, and only 391 universal graded copies. So it is much, much rarer. It's more kind of between the Golden Age rareness and Silver Age. So it's considered to be one of the rarest Silver Age grails. So pretty interesting about that book. So yeah, so this one, what was I going to say? Yeah, the highest graded copy is a 9.6, and it had the most recent sale for 9.6 of Showcase 4 was for $179,000 in 2009. So you can expect this book, if it came up again, would be in that $1 million club. I would definitely would expect that, because if it sold for $179,000 in 2009, well, it'd go for a lot more now. So yeah, so I think that's kind of a cool book. Next one is one that you probably would expect to be higher on the list, but it is lower on my list. This is my my third most expensive book, and it's Amazing Fantasy #15, the first appearance of Spider-Man. Now, this is a major book. This one just recently had a sale of $3.6 million. So it is definitely a book that was considered to be the most expensive comic to have ever sold. And that really dramatically impacted the prices for this book. Now, what happened, though, is that was a sale last year, and it was during the height of the comic market. And this book has pulled back a bit since then. It drove all the prices up, but it has pulled back a bit since. But still, this one is a universal, not a universal grade, but it's a 3.0. And it's missing like a small piece inside, like a coupon was cut out. Doesn't affect story. So the impact on price is very minimal. Even when I bought it, I think they reduced the value by about 10%. It's not like a dramatic cut. But when I priced it out, I actually did kind of price it out with a dramatic cut. So I'll explain that. This book normally would sell for around $41,000. I estimated the value at around $30,000. So I kind of did take a dramatic cut on the price in terms of what I think it would be worth because of that green label. So, but I paid only 12,000 for it, so I'm still laughing. So, yeah, that's definitely one that I did well on. Uh, it's a fairly common book. Most people don't realize that AF-15 is a really common book. It is actually the most common book on this list. So it has 3,632 copies that are that are total graded, and of those 2,342 are universal grades. So fairly common. But as I said, this is one that everyone seeks. It's like Batman and Spider-Man are the two big, and Superman. Those are the three big characters that everybody chases after. And I think a lot of people kind of consider Spider-Man to be the major character. So yeah, definitely. I would say in the top three, obviously. So yeah, so I'm just checking if I want to say anything else about it. Yeah, so there's actually 496s on the census, and it's just there was that one that sold for 3.6 million. So it'd be interesting to see what happens if another 96 comes to market, if it could actually hold that same $3.6 million price. So yeah, okay. Second last book is one that actually I was shocked that it maintained its price so well. This is Tales of Suspense 39. Mine's a 7.0 copy. It has a very slight restoration. You can't even see it. It is like they cut like a little tab off the corner. That's it. It's like a little piece. That's it. It's like a little, and it doesn't even. It's not even done right. So it wasn't like they were trying to like. It's one of those weird restorations that I don't even know why they did it. But it got restored because of that slight cut, and it's one that you can't reverse. So this is Tales of Suspense number 39, and it's the first appearance of Iron Man, major key book, and in a high grade. Now, sadly, because of that slight cut on the book, it does dramatically impact the price. I estimate the price to be like it. This book is kind of weird. It could be around that 50,000 mark, because of the slight trimming. I estimated around that $30,000. So, so it's like it dramatically impacted the price. Around 36,000, I would say it's worth. It would be my guess. This one, there are 2,554 on the census, and there's 1,897 universal grades. This book, is one of those another big book that hasn't really seen its like $1 million sale yet, but maybe in the future we'll see that. Okay, last book on my list, my number one book in my collection, and you probably know it by now based on if you've seen my videos enough, is All-Star Comics number 8. The first appearance of Wonder Woman. Mine's in a universal grade of a 2.5. And this book is really rare for, such a key character, and highly sought after. But sadly, she doesn't make her first appearance on the cover, which has always been frustrating. That's why I like Sensation number 1 so much, because it's her first cover appearance. But this is Wonder Woman's first appearance, and the story from it is very similar to the story for the first Wonder Woman movie. Actually, it's kind of interesting how closely the story parallels to it. Now, All-Star Comics number 8 in a 2.5 sells for around 34,000, 36,000 range. Okay. It actually finally recently joined the $1 Million Club. It was a 9.4 that sold for $1.62 million. So this book just this year, like in the last 2-3 months, reached the $1 Million Club. And as a result, all the lower grades are finally kind of being pulled up. It's just like what happened with AF 15 or Amazing Fantasy 15, where you have that big sale and all the little books, all the lower grade books kind of get pulled up. So the same happened with this one. The lower grades, their values have gone up since. It's sort of like a market correction. So this one actually has pretty good page quality too. It's like white to off-white pages, or off-white to white pages. And it's just a really great book altogether. So that is not quite it. I want to just finish off by saying there's 191 of those on the census, and 134 of them are universal grades. So yeah, to have it in my collection has been, you know, kind of a big thrill for me. So I always love showing that book. So yeah, so what else can I tell you? Yeah, so that's it. That's it. That's all of it. That's the end. I don't know what else to say. So that has been my top 100 books in my collection. You can watch the other previous 9 videos and you can see the progression. So these last 10 books, you know, the average value is around 20,000. So it's almost like it's over $200,000 just for these last few books. So yeah, it's been pretty crazy. And there's actually a book that I'm working on that's going to displace 1 or 2 of the books. Like there's a couple books that I'm getting that will be in my top 10 for next year. So you gotta wait for that. But it will be interesting top 10 list next year. But thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this series of videos. Going forward, actually, I have a very cool thing that I'm working on, and I'm going to surprise you with it next Saturday. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be different than what I'm doing now, but it's going to be an ongoing series that I hope you will enjoy. So yeah, so stay tuned for that. Next Saturday, I will be doing a new series to kind of, you know, have something that's ongoing and fun. So again, thanks for watching. Bye for now. Don't forget to sign up for my 2,000 subscriber giveaway. So if you haven't signed up, check the link in the description and you can sign up for that giveaway. So thanks again. Bye for now.